Andrew Hill's my name, Digital Acceleration Director at Coca-Cola. I've been in the industry here in Singapore for about 7 years now, and prior to working at Coca-Cola, worked with a number of F&B businesses, helping them understand the e-commerce landscape, particularly looking at data and the role that data plays in their business, in order for them to understand what's happening out in the market, particularly as there's significant change happening in terms of route to market and where people play online. I think one of the biggest challenges at the moment is the changing route to market. So whether it be retailers that are getting into online and offline selling, aggregators that are coming in and starting to intermediate the sale and the transaction, and then also taking over the logistics process. So for brands, they really need to understand what does their route to market strategy look like, and how are they adapting, I guess, particularly with low value transactions. You've got small margin pools to play with, so really understanding what the drivers of your cost are and how they affect your route to market is really important. Yeah, I think spontaneous purchase for me means impulse, or in our category means impulse. And so the impulse moment where people used to be waiting at a checkout and they would pick up a bottle of Coke, that moment's moved now into the social space. So people are sitting at home scrolling, they're commuting home from work perhaps, and that's where that moment of inspiration comes from, to make people think, hey, I really feel like a beverage, I feel like a Coke right now. That's where that moment of impulse comes from. But then making sure that you've got the customer experience and the journey lined up through digital means so that you can capitalize on that transaction straight away. That's really critical, because that impulse moment of just reaching out and taking a bottle, in our case, has gone. So a couple of clicks is all you've got in order to capitalize on that impulse and that spontaneous purchase. An example from Coca-Cola is that we focus on a program called Coke Kitchens. So in Vietnam and Thailand over the last 24 months, we've had some really successful programs where we inspire people to think about food, think about their drinks, and then in partnering with food service aggregators such as Grab, we're able to encourage the consumer to make that transaction immediately, so that in that moment of impulse, you really do capitalize on the sale. It boils down to really making sure you understand your process, what the process needs to be in order to get content created and then delivered to those platforms. Then there's technology available that can do a lot of the heavy lifting. If you create one piece of content, and that could be created through generative AI or various other tools, you're then able to use technology to deploy it out into market. You're able to use technology to resize things and make sure that they're fit for platform. And then on an ongoing basis, as consumers start responding, using tools like social listening, et cetera, start to fuel that content cycle ongoing. So I think understanding process and leveraging the technologies that are available is most critical. Where you've got low value transactions, you typically have smaller margin pools to play with. So understanding what that margin pool is, and therefore what you've got available to share across the various players and route to market is really important. I think also partnering with retailers and partnering people within the network really allows you to extend that dollar, make that dollar go as far as you can. So participate in programs that retailers and aggregators are putting together, and become part of something that's bigger, a bigger transaction for the consumer. You might be a small part of it, but look at ways that you can create size and scale with what you've got available. It's very tricky. I mean, you've got tools available through the retailers or the platforms that you're selling through. So you get an idea of your revenue or your GMV, and then through your internal measures, you need to really make sure you understand profitability. So using the information that you get from either the retailer or a third party, but then really understanding internally your numbers, that's what's important in bringing those two things together. Of course, smaller businesses need to be more focused on that data. That's all they've got available. Bigger businesses do have more resources in order to buy in more third-party data. Sometimes that brings complexity with it though. So my advice really is oversimplify the way that you're calculating ROI and focus in on the areas where you feel like your marketing and your campaign efforts are really making a difference. Learning from others that have similar growth ambition to what we have is really important. We are going to hear from some fantastic speakers and get some really tangible examples about how they've created value and how they've grown in the industry, particularly where there's a lot of disruption and change happening. And then for me, I mean, I'm privileged to be speaking here, so inspiring others with some of the stories that we're able to share. I think they're the two most valuable things that I'll get out of this summit.